No, I'm on a roll with the videos today. And I just have to make up for it because I've been losing out so many, right? So let's talk about reputation. As a Peace Corps volunteer, um, you can't have the mindset you're in college anymore. You can't have the mindset that you're a kid, that you're young. People see you as something else, and you need to respect that position that you have, that authority that you have, and that ability to influence others too. And try and understand that you should be trying to be a role model for people. I know that sucks. I'm basically saying you're not going there to be you. You're going there to be a role model. That's what you signed up for, and that's what it means to be a Peace Corps volunteer. So, in a context of trying to be a role model, you might have to make decisions that you wouldn't normally do in America. So, for instance, for me, like I said, I lived about 50 yards away from a bar in Poredaka, and there was events in Poredaka almost every other weekend. I never went to that bar. It was 50 yards away. I had friends who always invited me or wanted to go out, but I basically never went until like my last 2 months in Guinea after I was done teaching. And the reason was is just the reputation that I wanted was, to be an outstanding citizen, someone who was there working on the school projects, helping the kids, interacting with people at the cafe where there wasn't any alcohol. Just knowing that people knew where I was, what my schedule was, and that they wouldn't believe any stories. Because there were stories about other Peace Corps volunteers. When you're an American in a village, you could be white, black, whatever, as long as you're American, people are going to talk about you. And they will talk and talk and talk, not just to their neighbors, but to people in other villages. And you'd be surprised at how quickly word can reach Peace Corps headquarters or other volunteers, and you don't know what to believe. In my village, my actions, or like how I composed myself, were influenced by the Peace Corps volunteers who had come before me. And again, this is hearsay, right? It's always hearsay. I only interacted with one of the volunteers that was in my village before me, but a lot of my villagers, neighbors, they talked and talked and talked. And so I just have stories. And I had stories that the Peace Corps volunteers before me had done things with. There were two separate cases, two separate female volunteers who had done things with a married man. And while that wasn't, very controversial for them, it was for me, and just some of the things that they were saying that I thought was a bit negative. I don't want to get into too much detail, but my principal basically, after interacting with these two female volunteers, not just at the school but at the market and hearing from others, he banned female volunteers from even going to my village, saying that they were too problematic and there were just too many issues that should never have been issues to begin with. And some of that has to do with professionalism, some of that has to do with missed expectations and misunderstandings. But I think for me, those two volunteers could have done a lot better job of handling themselves to avoid quite a bit of those problems. The other issue with the male volunteer before me, who was always a nice guy, but he did put me in an awkward spot because villagers said that he went on motos often. Again, this is their stories, that he went on motos often, that he had a girlfriend, and that he would do this, that he would do that. He would go to the mosque all the time. And it's like you have to realize like how your own actions could impact the volunteers that come after you. And so like my own students kept asking me like, when are you going to get a girlfriend? How come you don't have a girlfriend? And you sometimes even implying that I should hook up with the students, which happens in Guinea. Guinean teachers will hook up with students, which is unfortunate too. But it was just the stories that I heard kind of again influenced the way that I wanted to act and I wanted to present myself. I wanted to present myself to my village as a well managed professional. Always have lessons prepared for school. Was never seen drinking. Never seen with a local Guinean, in a copinage, a sexual relationship or anything like that. At least not in my village. I didn't want any of that being seen in my village. In the regional capital with the other Americans, doing our even in my own capital, Mamu, like doing other things, that was perfectly fine because I didn't have to. I wasn't there to be, working with them specifically. I was working in Poredaka, and that was the people that I wanted to have the most impact with. And so again, just reputation can be really, really important. Understand how to build a relationship and to build your reputation. Be a positive influence. Find ways to meet the people that are important, that have the good voice, who can speak up for you. I'd recommend, working with the principal, working with the sous-prefet, and working with the police commissioner, and then also try and have a good relationship with the people at a cafe too, and like the where you have to charge your phone. You never know. But yeah, just always keep in mind that your reputation and that your actions, even things that you think are harmless, like smoking weed, will ruin your life in Guinea. And you might have a friend or two who actually makes weed, sells weed, or something like that, which is completely very, very uncommon in Futajalon. Like, the culture there is very, very against it. If they see you smoking weed, it's really bad. If they see you smoking cigarettes, eh. But if you're female, then you've done something really, really bad. And sure, that's sexist, but you are going to a different culture, and sexism is everywhere. So you have to be aware of that. Um, let's see. Yeah, just keep in mind of your reputation, and always try and find out what other volunteers did before you, so you can understand the context that people are seeing you in. I was lucky. I had a work journal that was filled out by previous volunteers, and I actually filled out a work journal. So if someone goes to Peace Corps headquarters and they find a large green binder in the library or something that says Poredaka on it, a lot of it is my work. Do read it. I think it's really great, and I encourage you, if you don't have one, to build your own work journal. Make it a super, super nice, super well organized, super well written work journal with all the contacts, with all the context, with important stories, things that worked, things that didn't work, and leave that so that a future volunteer can understand what happened in the village and understand who they should build relationships with, and how they can perhaps guard their own reputation and professionalism too. Yeah. All right. Take care.